Called to the Lord's throne, Amadeus, king of the ocean, approached with trepidation. Yarim had demanded a great number of things from him, and this time would be no different. He stood with an unassuming girl at his side, but Amadeus knew that this was no mere concubine, but the witch of Calamity, and dared not face her, but he knew he could not lay down before Yarim any longer. When he finally spoke, the tyrant king expressed his wish to enact his final plan, and conduct the forbidden ritual to free the Dark Lord of the Moon from his lunar prison. With a great foreboding in his heart, Amadeus steadfastly refused. There was no way he would have anything to do with unleashing that monster onto Terraria. Calmly, Yarim accepted his decision and sent him away. But retribution would be swift and deadly, for before he knew what was happening, the chaos witch set to incinerating his oceans, killing everything that dwelt within, and he knew that there was nothing he could do to stop her. Gods had begun. Humanity had all players deep and challenging. Different is less likely to get me horribly As the waters boiled in hellfire and brimstone, the creatures of the ocean fled, but in turn each was caught by the flames and incinerated while they still lived. So scorched did the seabed become, so hot the air that moisture was no longer capable of existing. What had once been vast oceans teeming with life now became a blazing desert littered with the skeletons of once titanic sea creatures. Despite this holocaust of flame though, there had been survivors. Small pockets of life had managed to carve out an existence in the desert and astoundingly begin to thrive. These creatures became hardened and vicious in response to their new habitat, but there was one that would dwarf them all. In the depths of Amadeus' seas, there had been a creature, a great sea worm that had once fed on crab and shark meat, but now it was left to dry out and starve in the blistering heat. It would not die though. Where so many of its kind had been incinerated instantly, this one lived, and began consuming the remnants of life from the desert pit. It ate and ate, but its hunger was never satiated. It consumed so much that eventually everything that had survived the purge of Calamitis would be eaten by this great desert scourge, leaving it to roam the extinct desert in search of any fresh meat that happened to stumble into the forsaken land. It became a shadow of its previous self, nothing but a ferocious eating machine. But contrary to what it believed, it was not the last of its kind. In the chaos as hellfire rained down across the ocean, some creatures had managed to flee, travelling through rivers and canals, into an ocean far away from the calamity that befell their brethren. This place was hardly a sanctuary though, for it was the sulphurous seas, a place of burning water and toxic waste. But the survivors had little choice. This was the place that they would now have to call home. Like its counterpart in the desert, the sea worm adapted well to its new environment, finding ample amounts of food to feast on, and as a result became much more placid than its desiccated brethren. Even so, it proved to be a deadly predator and would not hesitate to attack and prey upon anything it saw as food. The bountiful supply of food it enjoyed came at a price, however, and it had not escaped the effects of its harsh new environment. The toxic ocean had forced it to mutate, simply to survive the thick, poisonous waters. It had developed huge pincers to capture its sizable prey, and appendages all over its reinforced body to assist with moving through the otherwise deadly waters. Amadeus may have lost his oceans, but in some form the creatures he once ruled over still survive, and maybe even thrive. Maybe the once great Ocean King is proud of their adaptability, or maybe he sees their perversion as simply Yarim's final insult. Maybe he was even killed in the Brimstone Purge, unable to live without his oceans. We may never know. Unbeknown to all others though, there were more survivors, ones who went a different way, and found an ocean as fresh and rich with food as the waters they had come from. Here these creatures would find strange new forms of life, gorge themselves on plentiful resources, and even make unlikely companionships. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe so you'll be the first to know about my future videos. And don't forget I've got a Patreon and merch store. I think that's about it, so have a great day and I'll see you later.